The Fantastic Four First Steps reminded me why I fell in love with the MCU in the first place. Not because it's flashy, not because there's a ton of cameos, but because for the first time in years, it felt like Marvel actually cared. It's retro-futuristic, it's weird, it's personal, and that hits you right in the heart. This is going to be my full spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen the film yet, pause now because I'm diving into why this might be Marvel's best post-Endgame film, and maybe their most sincere since Iron Man. From the very first scene, First Steps tells you it's different. There's no checklist of multiversal cameos, no exhausting callbacks, just 4 brilliant weirdos, a charming robot, and a looming cosmic threat. Director Matt Shakman described it as Kirby meets Kubrick, and that is perfect. It's got this bold sci-fi aesthetic, clean lines, stark lighting, surreal geometry, all of it that feels like a lost 1960s vision of the future. Think that original Disneyland Tomorrowland vibe. And I mean this in the highest praise. This is like interstellar level chills. When I watched it in IMAX, there's some fantastic sci-fi stuff in this movie. And the score is superb. Michael Giacchino has been cooking for years, but I think he outdid himself on this one. This is probably the best MCU score, no joke. It's sweeping, it's emotional, and instantly iconic. Even from those first trailers, I'm still humming that theme song. It sticks with you, not just because it's catchy, but because it means something. It feels like legacy. But what truly caught me off guard, the film is not just about saving the world, it's about saving a family. At the center of this movie is Reed Richards and Sue Storm trying to protect their unborn son, Franklin, from Galactus. And that emotional core, it lands like a meteor. The scene in space where Sue gives birth, that reminded me of my own experience as a father, watching my wife give birth. Obviously, she wasn't in space when she was doing it, but this movie, it's the most fantastical. I loved every minute of it, giving superpowers to the ordinary. And that feeling of being a father, being a husband, being a family man was emphasized throughout this whole movie. I mean, the very first scene of the movie, a relatable husband and wife argument. This is stuff that we hadn't seen in the MCU up to this point. You really feel like you're tied into this family and that you're a part of it. The husband, wife, the best friend, the sibling, the uncles. It's a cosmic Marvel film for sure, but at its heart, it's deeply human. And that's what makes it so powerful. Now let's talk about Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. He's the smartest man alive, but that doesn't mean he knows how to be a husband or a father. That tension drives his art. He wanted to solve every problem even before he was a father. So this just compounds it and makes everything about, I have to solve the world's problems for my son, for my baby, so that he can live in a better world. Relatable. That feels like what I felt like when my son was born. And as a comic book guy, my 2 favorite superpowers are super speed and super intelligence. I loved how intelligence was treated as a whole in this movie. Everyone is smart. There isn't the big lunkhead, the hothead, ladies man, comic relief. Everyone is an astronaut. Everyone is smart. Everyone uses science. And it's like intelligence is a power. Science is a power. Not just for building the gadgets, but for growth. Emotional intelligence as well. That's rare in a superhero film. And you get the sense that Reed always has something cooking underneath. There's always something going on. The wheels are always turning due to the writing, and that's also due to Pedro Pascal's performance and his choices in this role. I didn't feel like he was exactly like the Reed Richards from the comics, but he fit the tone for this film. And going forward in the MCU, I want to see where he takes it into the next Avengers movies and beyond. And I've seen in a ton of interviews and reviews, Sue Storm is the glue in this film and in this family, and I got to agree. She's not sidelined. She's not the mom. She's fierce, she's protected, she's grounded. She holds Reed accountable, she comforts Ben, and she challenges Johnny. She fights like someone with something to lose. You see her shields literally and emotionally around her family. It's not just cool, it's beautiful. Now let's talk ladies man and lunkhead, Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm. This might be the best Johnny Storm we've seen in live action. He's still cocky, he's still reckless, but he's deeper. His arc is about what it really means to be a brother and an uncle. There's a scene later on in the movie where Johnny makes a choice and he wants to make the sacrifice play. Kind of shades of Captain America jumping on that grenade. It's not flashy, it's not funny, it's selfless, and it lands. I saw a couple of people getting emotional in my theater. We had a really good crowd when we saw it. There was a ton of people dressed up in Fantastic Four uniforms. People were applauding when Ben Grimm eventually says his catchphrase. Everyone in my theater screamed and cheered. It was a great moment to experience that collectively with fans. Not to the level of the on your left moment in Endgame, but along those same lines, kind of similar feeling. This Ben Grimm looks very good. A lot of the time, there are a couple scenes where the CGI was not so great, but overall, I gotta say they did a fantastic job making him look like the comic book thing and not like the previous iterations where it was just a guy in a suit or a huge rock monster. I don't know what the Fantastic Four stick was doing. It was a feeling that I got where it was like, oh, he really exists. This is the thing is right here. The guy that I've been reading in comics for years, here he is in flesh and blood. And there's a moment that we see it in the trailers as well. He watches old footage of himself on the television screen before he was transformed. And then the TV clicks off and you see his reflection as the thing. No dialogue, just pain, loss, memory. The silence about it says everything, and that was fantastic. Now, as a huge Wall-E fan, Herbie hit all the right notes for me. He was fantastic. Had the legendary Matthew Wood from Star Wars fame, who, if you don't know, he does all the battle droids. He does General Grievous's voice. He has kind of been carving out, he's a sound designer, but he's been carving out a little voice acting career that's been kind of fantastic to watch. So anytime Matthew Wood appears, or I should say anytime I hear Matthew Wood, it's always, as a Star Wars guy, it's fantastic for me. So hearing him do Herbie's voice and the way that Herbie was kind of an emotional center for the group as well. Everyone cared about him, treated him like he was a part of the family. He's a part of the dinner and everything. So that was fantastic. And the visuals at times are gorgeous. I mentioned Interstellar earlier. There's also some 2001 vibes. This movie is very science fiction. That was also something that kind of surprised me. You see a lot of space, which is what you should see in a Fantastic Four movie. As a fan of the comics, Galactus, Silver Surfer, I don't want to just see them on Earth. I want to see them in space. And you get the grand scale of everything. Seeing it in IMAX also helped on that huge screen. Everything with the Silver Surfer looked fantastic. The way they utilized her powers, much like the Doug Jones version in the early 2000s Fantastic Four 2, The Rise of the Silver Surfer, you got how powerful he was. Like, you feel the weight of the Silver Surfer. In this movie, it's Shia LaBeouf. In that other movie, it was Norrin Radd. But just the power cosmic, the way that they utilized it was fantastic in this. The way they visualized the Silver Surfer's power. And then you see, oh, wait a minute, that's just a fraction of what Galactus's power is. So all of that was amazing to me. They got the big visuals right. I think some of the smaller ones, I'm looking at you, CGI baby. They didn't quite land for me. There was a lot of times where I was like, man, this looks like it's on a green screen. I don't know if that was because of the IMAX blowing up the visuals and like I could see the minor minutia, but it just felt like it needed a little bit more time to cook on the rendering. I'm seeing it again in non-IMAX, so I'm going to be looking out for that. I'm going to have an eye out for that. But the production design, like I said, that retro futurism, the 60s technology, which it was cool to see the vision of the future from the 60s, but also a little bit forward, a little bit ahead of time. But you also still got pulled back. Wait a minute. Oh, they're recording everything on these analog records and the pregnancy test, all these type of things. You could see a lot went into the production design. And I'm also a fan of things like the Jetsons, and I mentioned Tomorrowland from Disneyland. Those type of things, they always kind of give me that hope and what we were aspiring to be back in the 60s as a country. So that was interesting to me. Like I said, the interdimensional design, faster than light jumping, all of those things are something we hadn't seen visualized on screen in this way. So I really liked what Matt Shakman and the team brought to this one. The costumes, simple, iconic, instantly memorable. Going back to Galactus, he wasn't just a cloud. He was an actual cosmic force, paying homage and being respectful to the comics. Visually imposing, and even the sound design alone sells his presence. A couple of the Reed stretchy moments kind of took me out of it. I think stretching is the hardest power to show on camera believably. It works in animation, especially if you look at The Incredibles or anytime Plastic Man appears in like Batman Brave and the Bold or something like that. It works because it looks cartoony. It looks like a cartoon. but we have that uncanny valley when we see a human in live action stretch. A lot of times it just looks kind of funny. And in this movie, there are kind of moments of that, but they were very reserved on it. They didn't show a lot of the stretching, and that was, I think, a choice that was very well done. But overall, the visuals delivered where it mattered. Another pleasant surprise for me was, much like when I saw Superman, seeing this movie not be afraid to be a comic book, to be Silver Age, to be silly. That was something that I wasn't quite expecting from the movie, but loved it. As a comic book fan, I want more of this type of movie. And this also had a lot of similarities to Superman, where it drops you into the world. You don't see the origin story. It's kind of told through context. And I think that's going to be the way that a lot of these comic book movies going forward are going to be. They're not going to show us the every single moment and spend half the movie on the origin story. I think they're just going to throw us right in. And that's what we want as modern audiences. Again, this movie did a great job being a comic book movie, not being afraid of being silly. All of the Fantastic Four's villains that we got, the homages to the zany, quirky villains from the 60s where the Fantastic Four originated. Mole Man almost steals the show. Every time he shows up, he's fantastic in every scene that he's in. And I like that as a comic book fan. I like those Easter eggs and homages. And I hope Doomsday, Secret Wars, and whatever maybe the Fantastic Four sequel turns out to be, double down on that. I really enjoyed that, and I want more of that in my superhero movies. For longtime Marvel fans, there are deep cut references, Kirby visual nods. Like I said, Matt Shakman described it as Kirby meets Kubrick, and some great Stan Lee stuff. There's tributes and homages, Easter eggs for all of those things, but I think Kirby gets the most if you look at it, even to the point of the universe itself, 828 being Jack Kirby's birthday. I love that, and he doesn't get enough credit, I don't think. We call him the king of comics, and there's a lot of love for Jack Kirby, but what Stan Lee gets, I think, in pop culture, I think that's where Jack Kirby should be. They should be kind of on an equal playing field. Kirby has a bigger audience among comic book fans, but amongst a wider general population, I think where Stan Lee is, that's where Jack Kirby should be. And then let's talk about that post-credit scene. There's two, actually. One's kind of a funny one about the Fantastic Four cartoon, but the other one is our very first glimpse at Doctor Doom in the MCU. Very small, brief, but chilling. He's talking to Franklin. He's got his mask on. What does that mean? There's so much that you can interpret from that, and it's going to be crazy to see what actually is happening when we get Doomsday next year. Just like with the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, this one was filmed by the Russo brothers on the set of Doomsday. So I don't know if that footage is going to be, are we seeing scenes from Doomsday, or did they just, oh, we got the actors, we got the sets and everything, just film them right now. I don't know exactly what is going to play out with that. Just, you kind of feel the danger of Doom more than anything. You don't get to see his face, you don't get to hear Robert Downey Jr., but we know it was him. They confirmed that in interviews. What does it mean that he's talking to Franklin? Obviously, he wants that power the same way that Galactus wanted Franklin in this. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Doctor Doom. And speaking of Franklin, we see him mostly as a baby in this movie. That post-credit scene is 4 years later, so he's a 4-year-old. Comic fans know his future is wild. I've actually got a short on my channel all about Franklin Richards. Is he a mutant? Is he not a mutant? So check that out if you want some more context. But I'm really hoping that we get Valeria at some point, the other child of Reed and Sue. She's always been, out of the two, Franklin's like the more powerful, cosmic one, but Valeria's the more intelligent one. She's more like her dad, and to the point where she said, I'm smarter than my dad. I love, as I said earlier in the video, super intelligent characters. So she's one that I'm always enjoying every time I see her when she's in the comic book. So I would love to see her realized on screen. A family of super geniuses protecting the world, count me in. So this movie isn't just a return to form for Marvel, it's a blueprint, I think, for what comes next in all of superhero movies. I think July 2025 is going to be looked back on as a groundbreaking month and year for superhero films, with the release of both Superman and the Fantastic Four First Steps. They're kind of like what is coming next in superhero storytelling. And it's not just about spectacle, it's about sincerity. It's about being kind. Both of these movies about being good to your fellow man, working together to protect each other and just to be a good person. That's something that I aspire to, and I hope my son can look up to me and aspire to as well. The way that I look up to my father and my parents, my superheroes that I see throughout, I'm hoping my son would look at me in the same light. This film made me think about my family, about my wife, about my son, and what it means to build a family, to protect it, and what you would do to sacrifice for it. It's not perfect, but it's personal, and that makes all the difference. Let me know in the comments down below what moment hit you the hardest in the Fantastic Four First Steps. For me, it was the baby seat, the car seat where they had 3 men that actually had to get it into the car. That is my personal moment. Well, what's yours? I want to know in the comments down below. Check out all of my other videos that are on my channel, my Patreon, my merch store, everything on This Comic Cooks. I'm trying to build a safe place where comic fans can feel seen.